Thank you, President Schuster, Keck Graduate Institute faculty, students, and guests for the opportunity to speak to you today. Congratulations, KGI graduates. I am honored and it is my pleasure to celebrate with you today your remarkable achievements. You have persevered in a circumstance unlike any other in recent history. While a nation and world found itself in the grip of the global COVID-19 pandemic, you have pressed on, obtaining knowledge and credentials that we recognize today. You have done this by unprecedented approaches to virtual and in-person learning. It is fitting that we celebrate your achievement of your advanced degree with family and friends, all of whom have likely made important sacrifices to make this possible. This is a time not only of celebration, but to express gratitude to your teachers, professors, and loved ones for their support. Also, what a remarkable time for hope. You are in a unique position not seen in generations. After more than a year of health and economic hardship due to COVID-19, the world is opening up again as more and more of the population becomes vaccinated, with vaccines developed in less than a year, never done before, a miraculous hope that became reality. I count myself fortunate to have been part of one such effort. Many experts predict an economic boom, including infrastructure, technology, and science. Yet, there is an emerging human capital gap to guide the development and use of pharmaceuticals and vaccines from the laboratory to the marketplace. Along with my colleague Andrea Kewine and multiple vaccine leaders across government, academia, industry, and non-governmental organizations, we published the following conclusion. There is a growing deficit of trained vaccinologists, particularly in translational development. With today's recognition of your achievements, you are perfectly positioned to fill the gap and ride the crest of the coming wave in healthcare and life sciences, pharmacy, genetics, engineering, and business. I envy you. But how can you leverage what you have learned to invent and contribute to the future? I'm grateful for your indulgence as I share with you some advice shaped by nearly 50 years in academia and industry and sharpened by the recent experience of developing a vaccine against COVID-19. They fall into three mutually related categories. Pay down your debt, and not just the money. Think big, but backwards. And forge lifelong personal scientific relationships. Now let me tell you what I mean. Pay down your debt, and not just the money. It is estimated that the average graduate entering the workforce has over $34,000 in student debt, amounting to a staggering total of over $1.5 trillion in total outstanding student debt. For those of you who find yourselves in this position, you have my admiration for managing this while you work to move forward with your life and career. Something needs to be done at a national level to reduce this distracting burden, and hopefully it will. However, I want to talk to you about another type of debt that affects each and every one of you. Nearly 45 years ago, like you today, I was also experiencing a graduation ceremony along with my college roommate, Barney Graham. We were both heading off to careers in medicine, but Barney shared something with me that I now share with you. Barney had a biochemistry professor who, noting his students' interest and diligence in learning, made the following observation. As each of us acquires existing knowledge, we accumulate a debt that we should seek to repay. We should teach others and add new knowledge for the world's benefit. Is there a better contribution than one can make to new knowledge and world benefit than in the life and health sciences? I cannot think of one. So what happened? Turn the clock forward 45 years, and Dr. Barney Graham is the Deputy Director of the NIH Vaccine Research Center and Chief of the Viral Pathogenesis Laboratory. Barney and Jason McClellan, formerly of his lab, derive the fundamental structure of the SARS coronavirus 2 spike protein that has become the foundation for most vaccines licensed or in development in the world. 45 years after graduation with Barney, I am grateful to lead a dedicated vaccine clinical research and development team at Pfizer. This team, along with academic investigators, staff, and heroic study volunteers, resulted in the first COVID-19 vaccine judged safe and effective for emergency use in the United States. This vaccine is now being widely applied and approved in countries throughout the world, and already appears to be showing some success in turning back the COVID-19 pandemic. Did either Barney or I envision what the future would bring 45 years later? No. But what we did realize was the importance of the obligation to teach others and add new knowledge. 45 years of work, including failures and triumphs, led to the recent success. So I challenge you, what can you do to pay down the knowledge debt that you have accumulated? What can you do to bring life care and health sciences benefits to the world? Pay down your debt. But how does one do this? Which leads to my next piece of advice. Think big, but backwards. I think everyone is familiar with President John F. Kennedy's famous remarks in 1962 announcing the space race to the moon. Ironically, this occurred in my hometown of Houston, Texas, when I was a young boy, and I heard it live. Kennedy said, "We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win." Note this. Kennedy did not describe in detail the plans from 1962 forward. First we will do this, next we will do that, and so forth. No, rather he set an ambitious goal. We choose to go to the moon in this decade. That means less than 9 short years and a short while after rockets were still blowing up on launch pads. Kennedy and his leadership did think big, but backwards. He set an ambitious goal in the future and then worked backwards to figure out how to achieve it. Now think of the parallels to the development of a COVID-19 vaccine. The SARS coronavirus 2 was identified as a cause of COVID-19 in December of 2019. It was clear that looming catastrophe lay ahead for the world and that the need for a safe and effective vaccine was urgent. Vaccine development can take years, a decade or more. If we or others in the field had taken an iterative, stepwise approach, you, I, and the rest of humanity could expect many successive waves of disease to sweep across the world. At Pfizer, we first engaged with the German company BioNTech in the vaccine effort in March of 2020 and made the determination that we would set a goal to have a vaccine authorized and begin delivery before the end of the year, less than 9 months away. And we would do this maintaining the same requirements for safety and efficacy as for any vaccine. We did think big, but backwards. With cooperation of regulatory authorities in the United States and throughout the world, we invented new ways of working. To borrow from Kennedy's famous lines, we chose to develop a COVID-19 vaccine because that goal served to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge was one that we were willing to accept, one we were unwilling to postpone, and one which we intended to win and did. What is your big goal for achievement? What would happen if you set yourself an incredibly ambitious timeline to achieve that goal and work backwards to find ways that it might be possible? The world could be waiting for something you can offer. Think big, but backwards. Forge lifelong personal scientific relationships. Scientific advance is a team sport. No single individual can advance scientific benefits to the world on their own. I told you about my friend and colleague Barney Graham. Neither of us had a clue when we graduated 45 years ago that our lives would continue to intersect throughout those years to our mutual benefit, and I believe the benefits of life and health sciences, many times in completely unanticipated ways for other vaccines. But this relationship is not unique. I faced the challenge as to who would be best suited to the task of introducing several candidate mRNA COVID-19 vaccines into human volunteers for the first time. I worked with my leadership team to engage academic investigators with whom I had working relationship as long as 30 years, some who helped educate me as mentors and some whom I helped educate. These were individuals skilled at design and execution of early phase trials, assuring safety of participants, and with scientific knowledge about COVID-19. I am convinced that we would not have had timely success in COVID-19 vaccine development without them and their staff. There are numerous other examples. Carol Baker, who trained me and has devoted her life to development of a vaccine against Group B streptococcus, the most common serious cause of bacterial infection in infants. She is now a collaborator and consultant on a Pfizer Group B strep vaccine in development. The message is really this: who can you identify that challenges you to do your best? Who do you identify as lifelong personal mentors and collaborators to achieve health and life sciences goals? If you do, you may find yourself surprised, like I did, about how things turn out. Spend the effort to forge lifelong personal scientific relationships. Now let me tie this all together with one final thought. I am convinced that it is important to find joy in actioning each of these recommendations I have outlined. There is joy in teaching individuals what you have learned, making new discoveries, and seeing others pass this on. Although I have asked you to think big, recognize that there will be successes and failures along the way. A wise person once told me, try to find one success to celebrate each day, even if it is as simple as clearing off your desk or completing a laboratory task. The path to big discoveries is made by little triumphs. And lastly, find joy in forging and maintaining personal scientific relationships over your lifetime. The projects and accomplishments are memorable and fulfilling. However, I have found more often than not, it is the personal relationships and shared memories through success and failure that have brought me the greatest joy. So pay down your knowledge debt, think big but backwards, and forge lifelong personal scientific relationships. May you find joy in doing so. Now go forth to a world waiting for what you have to offer.